Anton Du Beke is in the house. So he's written another book. How many is it now?
This is of this series. Yes, this is 6.
Look at these books.
It's beautiful,
It's your
isn't it?
sixth
I
book.
love it. I have to tell you.
This is big, proper books,
The
man.
joy of it is that after we did the first one and then we talked about doing more, and we decided that we would continue with the story,
Yes.
it was like as you walk into the wardrobe and you open the doors and it's Narnia, and you can see it just go on and no one needs to die off. Some people need to die off, but you can continue with the story. That is the most exciting thing about it.
Downton Abbey with Dan's perfect, says Santa. Santa's come early. Santa Montefiore.
She's an absolute belter.
Yeah, wow. Obviously, you and Strictly and ballroom dancing is associated with Blackpool Tower, and it's on the front of the book.
That's a slightly more expensive version.
It's
That's the
the
Paris
Eiffel
one.
Tower,
That's the
isn't
Paris
it?
one.
'Cause hey, everyone, you've heard of Buckingham Palace. How about Buckingham to Paris? You like that?
Outstanding.
Come on, now tell.
There are moments in
why
life
do
where
you
you
I know.
wish you'd said it. I wish I'd said that.
Tell everybody why I just said that pertaining to this book.
Well, it's because it's the continuing saga of the Buckingham Hotel.
Yes, you see.
And but in this novel, we go back in time. We visit Raymond, our intrepid hero's past,
Yes.
and where he sort of began and where he became Raymond, and that was set in the 1920s in Paris.
Buckingham Paris, you see, Vassos.
Beautiful.
Are you paying attention?
It's very good.
You could be this good if you tried.
I'm making notes.
Okay.
And this one's set in 1941, and we're in the middle of the war, and Raymond's gone off to Africa to fight Rommel and all that lot.
Not on his own.
So,
With other people.
say again?
With some other people, not on his own.
No. There are a number of other people.
Yes.
And one of them was a golfer called Monty, and in another life. But it gives us the opportunity to visit his backstory a little bit. So we've sort of dual narrative this whole thing, where we have him set in the early 20s, and we discover Raymond and a young Raymond, and he meets his great mentor Georges Delamotte, and also other people at the time. But as he's away, somebody comes into the story.
So good. So good.
Somebody comes into the story.
I was going to say
from
who.
his past.
I'm glad you said somebody, because that tells me not to...
No. But
right.
what we also have to work out is whether he's a goodie or a baddie. Because he said, "Oh yes, and of course I grew up with Raymond. I'm a very good old friend." But no one's ever heard of him. Raymond's never mentioned him.
Yes.
And now we're in the middle of the war, and everyone's suspicious about everybody. So we have to get Raymond back from Africa to sort this situation out. Is it a good or a bad thing? But it's been lovely talking about Paris in the 20s. Because, of course, the first ever World Championship of ballroom dancing was set in Paris in about 1924. Won by the great Victor Sylvester, the great band leader Victor Sylvester, who started off as a ballroom dancer.
Yeah, and so did Raymond cut his teeth there. He may well have done. Ladies and germs, boys and girls. What I love about this is, I wish you could see Anton here, because he's dragging things in like... what's his name does? Tom Cruise in Mission Impossible.
Yeah.
Oh.
Not Mission Impossible. What's the one?
Minority Report.
Minority Report. You're dragging things in from the ether, from the universe itself, all these different contingent components of this particular story. It could be complicated and complex, but the way you describe it is so beautifully simple. It has a pattern. It has a shape. It has great historiography to it.
It's the second brilliant word of the day. I love that. And it is, for me, it is like choreography.
Historiography, that's what it is.
Historiography, I love that.
I just invented that word.
Genius.
Stephen Fry was in yesterday, and it's rubbed off a little bit, I've got to be honest.
It's genius. But that's how I do. What I want people to do, the same way as you would listen to a song and you immerse yourself in the song, and the lyrics move you, the melody will
bathe in
move
it,
you.
don't you?
You do, and the same as you would do if you watch dance, whether it's a 3-act opera or it's a huge ballet, or whether it's a minute and a half of something on Strictly Come Dancing, whatever it is, I want to I have that wonderful feeling that you get where you I use the word immerse yourself in it, and it just sort of takes you over. I have the same feeling about the novels and the story, and I want you to be able to open the pages and step in, a bit like Mr. Ben, where he walks into the changing room with a hat on, and he looks
Festive
around
Road.
and he goes, "Oh,
Festive Avenue?
hello, I'm in 1941, and what's that over there? Oh, it's the Buckingham Hotel. Oh, perhaps I'll go in for a coffee. Yeah. And you're in it, and it's all going on around you, and that's a feeling I have when I do these books.
See, it's screaming out for its own TV series, isn't it? It's screaming out for it. I mean, it says here, look, Downton Abbey with dance. Come on, everyone.
Come on, everyone.
What's the
hold up?
There must have been conversations, hasn't there?
Well,
murmurings.
As far as I'm aware, the conversations have been had, but I would really love it to get dramatised in some way, shape or form, whether it's the BBC or Netflix or whomever. But I would love somebody to take it on, because I think it's lush and lavish and wonderfully set, and I think it would make for a brilliant either continuing drama or maybe a wonderful film or something like that. I think it would be brilliant.
Tilly, who read this one on our behalf,
yes,
I said, does anybody get killed? She said, not so far. She's not as far as she's read up to.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we'll take that as it sounded. As it sounded.
Yeah. I mean, I've read a bit as well, and there's quite a juxtaposition, isn't it? Because there's lavish ballroom loveliness,
exactly,
and then there's the war.
Yeah, exactly. So you have this situation where the two worlds colliding, but it's not a dancing novel. Dancing is in the novel. It's of its time in that regard. Yes. People danced. The first ever dance we did in those days, or during the First World War, would be the foxtrot, because it's a walking dance. So you didn't have to learn choreography, and you'll see people walking together. Because you go off to war, and then you may not come back. So you don't want to suddenly learn. You don't take 3 weeks to learn a waltz or something. So the foxtrot is basically a trotting dance, but it's to sort of music of that time signature.
I love it when you explain stuff like this.
And it is, and that's what you would do. You'd go to the officers' mess or the dues or whatever it would be, and you would dance with somebody because you could walk. If you take, for example, there's two variations, basic standard variations in the foxtrot called the feather step and three step. They basically consist of 6 walking steps in a straight line.
Right.
Now that you go in line with your partner, which means you step between her feet, or you might step outside her feet. But that's the only intricacy about it. There's no sort of big spins or turns. And if you're dancing to a classic piece of sort of, we would call it swing music now, in those days it would be big band, you would be walking across the floor forwards and backwards. And it is the most incredible thing, because there's this old dancer called Josephine Bradley, a pioneer of ballroom dancing. She would say, "My dear," she said, "if you can't walk together, how can you possibly dance together?"
Oh, come on!
And you'd spend hours walking up and down the room.
Don't run before you can walk. Don't dance before you can trot.
Exactly.
I love that, the old foxtrot. So, because now we play walking football as we mature even more in years. At the age of 57, you can play walking football. So we could call it trot ball.
Trot ball.
Or foxball.
Foxball.
You're going to be careful with that.
Yeah.
So on Strictly, for example, is that the most achievable, the foxtrot, for most people, would you say, because of its heritage?
Well, in its very basic form, yes. I mean, people always go, "Oh, the waltz is very..." Why don't you do the waltz? It's an easy dance. Well, actually, the waltz is very difficult because you close your feet, you see. You'll do, for example, you'll go forward, side, together, and then you use the other foot.
Forward, come on. Forward, side, together.
Together, close your...
Forward, side, together. One more.
Forward, side, together. Nice, you can now do the waltz, but if you carry on, use the other foot, you might use the same foot twice. Disaster. You never use the same foot twice. Yeah. But because you close your feet, it's very difficult to remember which foot you've just used. It's just a thing. But for foxtrot, of course, the feet pass. You don't close your feet. That's why it's so much easier to do.
Oh, okay.
You see? Right. There you are.
You up to speed?
I think so.
Yeah.
The waltz is about core as well, isn't it?
Well, posture. Everything is to do with posture.
Which is itself about core.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they used to talk a long time ago about the Alexander technique. Do you remember all that?
That was a big
precursor to sort of Pilates,
without
etc.
question.
And it was all basically about core, but it's fundamentally about posture and a lining up. We used to call it blocks of weight. So you have your head and your rib cage and your hips and your knees. So you'd have these sort of building blocks of the anatomy, and you'd have to line them up properly so everything is carried in the correct way. And you talk about rolling the shoulders down, but you don't have to pinch them back. You just roll down. But the head has so much to do with it. It's the way one carries one's head, which is sort of imperative, everything, because it's the furthest thing away from the floor. It also has the most amount of weight.
Yes,
and if you think about something on the end of a pole, if you starts to sway, everything else follows.
Oh my God.
So you must align your head correctly to give you good posture.
Come on, another round of control a round of applause for this. This is good everyday juice. Anton, that is amazing.
This is a great class. Thank you.
We know that if you tilt your head forward a couple of degrees, it increases in weight by 1,000x.
Becomes a side load as opposed to a centre load, you see.
Good, man.
Really good.
It's like a bag of shopping. If you have a bag of shopping, you've got a loaf of bread and if you put it out, if you stretch I've never been this good. Yeah. If you stretch your arm out to the side, it's very difficult to hold that bag of shopping there for a sustained amount of time. If you bring it in and hold it against your chest with a bent
fascia
arm
as well, with the old fascia
exactly,
kicking in.
You can hold it there for a much longer time.
What's the dance that we could do that most in?
So this one here, this could be great for a salsa, wouldn't it?
Yeah, of course.
Right in there, all sort of close, and your little shimmy, magnificent.
This is so when I play golf, sometimes I imagine Ernie Els, the golfer.
Golfer to golfer here.
Golfer to golfer.
And I just imagine his swing, and that's my only swing thought. I'm Ernie Els.
Big easy.
When I'm not playing golf, Anton, so for the rest of the time, so most of the time, I will just think, I'm Anton Du Beke and I'll have your posture.
Do that, because it's really
golfer.
important. Posture is so important. You get lots of problems with bad backs, bad necks and stuff, and it's just alignment, invariably.
Can you just show us your stance in golf?
So, my stance
can you
in golf?
address the ball?
So I'm going to
You're on
address
the
the ball.
first at Wentworth.
First at Wentworth.
Yes, come on.
So, there you are.
It's the BMW Pro Am.
So I let everything hang naturally.
Look at that. Look at that.
I'm in that position now. See that? So the arms hang naturally, the hips are just bent, the knees bend forward, the hips bend backwards.
Yeah.
I don't round my back. I don't keep it.
You could you?
I just look towards the ball.
Yeah,
but I just very relaxed.
Here we go. On the tee. Anton Du Beke.
And then I turn. But I keep everything connected to my centre. I get to this position here. And then I rotate back.
Oh my God, look at that. 300 yards. He striped it down the fairway. It's slightly to the right, but he'll be happy with that. It's the perfect approach position for getting on the green in two. I think he's staring down the barrel of an eagle. Sorry, I got very excited then.
I tell you what, the Open Championship's got your name all over it.
Oh my gosh, I'll tell you.
Take over from Peter Alice.
So we all like to do things that are good for us. Well, we think we do.
Yeah.
But we only usually do them if we have to. So I turn my good for me's into my have to's, and then if I have to do the good for me's enough, they become a habit. And then I find them easier, and the easier I find them, the more I continue to do them, and then I find it harder not to do them than, in fact, do them. Why am I saying all this? So you're not dancing on Strictly anymore, but you still look as fit as a fiddle. Now, you don't need to stay as fit as you used to when you were dancing on Strictly every week. How is that? How fit are you really? Do you have any idea what I'm talking about?
I do, in actual, I do. And then it sort of becomes...
Because you looked at me as if you didn't.
No, I know. All of that, I believe all of that to be lifestyle.
Right.
I fundamentally believe that you are what you eat. You are what you are. How you are
what you consume, and it's not just food. It's entertainment. It's books. It's the air. It's
the way you stand.
The company you keep.
Exactly.
Yes.
And so I'm still touring, and so I'm still dancing all the time.
Yes.
But in what you say, I absolutely agree with you, because the more you do it, the easier it becomes, classically, of course. Now, I stand the way I stand because I've always stood like that. Yeah. It's uncomfortable for me to slouch.
Yeah.
I mean that sort of loosely, of course. But and because of that, I don't. If I slouch too much, my back's aching today.
Yeah.
Well, it's because I'm just sort of slouching.
Yes.
Now that can be the opposite for most people who don't have great posture. They end up they go, it's really uncomfortable to stand up nice and straight.
I love it.
Yes, well, that's because it's not normal. So it's whatever you do becomes the norm.
But
that's really important.
Can't you very slowly without noticing? Because you're not dancing on telly, and that is a different kind of pressure. And you do not want to let yourself down ever, because you're a total pro, and you hopefully always give people, you over deliver, which is that will be on your gravestone. He over delivered. But I don't know why I'm talking about your passing. It's not something I wanted to slip into.
I've given it a lot of thought.
But it's not the same. So how do you know that you're still there? Because you do look fantastic still. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely. But as I said before, I'm still sort of touring and everything. So I know...
It's not the same though, is it?
Where it's sort of... Do you know, it's different. On Strictly Come Dancing, it's a short period of time and it's very intense.
I see.
And so you're doing it for many hours per day. When you're on tour, you're out for a longer period of time and you're doing it to a higher standard. You know, with the best will in the world, I'm dancing with celebrity ladies, and it's quite. I mean, the choreography can be quite technical and can be quite complex, but only to a level.
No, you're right. I forgot
because the people you're dancing with don't have a great technical ability. So when you're dancing professionally, you are still dancing at a much higher level.
So would you say it's equal in its own way then? Those two things?
It sort of levels itself off, and I'm doing it more. My greatest fear.
Come on.
Is that I'll dance with somebody because if we're gonna share and be honest right now, I'm 57 years old, so I dance with a lot of people who are much younger. So I dance with, I mean, for example, the ladies on my tour at the moment, they're all in their 30s. Right. So I don't want any of them to ever look at me and go, ooh,
we're having to make allowances for him.
Yeah, I don't want... I feel a bit uncomfortable with you lifting me, actually. I don't know.
Right.
I never want that. So I'll...
Because that's going to feed into the performance.
Yeah, and I don't want anyone to feel... I want everyone to... and this is maybe an ego thing, but it's also sort of a pride thing. I want, when somebody dances with me, to go, that's the best experience I've ever had.
Great.
And because of that, I strive and I continue to work on my technique and I continue to work on my fitness and I continue to work on what my old teacher used to call my partnering ability. So I make sure that the partner I dance with is having a lovely time and enjoying the moment, because otherwise I'd be mortified if they went, oh, no, I'm not sure I want to do that with you.
Do you have anything like a 7-minute workout that we could tell people at home, you know, the most useful thing you can do is this for a stretch or for posture or for core or...
Yeah, I mean, this is the one stretch that people don't do, and that's your hip flexors. You must stretch your hip. Everybody stretches. So, for example, everybody's stretching hamstrings. They'll bend forward, stretch hamstrings, or they stretch their back.
Which is really good for you, because also that can be worse for your hamstrings than good for your hamstrings.
Because we spend a lot of time sitting down, one thing or another. You must stretch the front bit in order to release the back bit.
And also, you can't stretch your core muscles, so you have to warm up.
Exactly. So this is a very quick stretch that everyone can do. So just sort of lunge forward. We'll do it from here.
Can you just show me where the hip flexors are? Because my wife talks about them all the time, and I don't really know what she's talking about.
At the front of the hip pelvis.
Is it the fascia?
No, they're muscles.
Okay.
So you think your pelvis. If you square the front of your pelvis off so it's flat, right. The top of the thigh into the sort of abdominal area, there's that area there which creases when you sit. That's the hip flexor. You've got to stretch those out. So as you stretch those out, you release the lower part of your back, where think of the lower part of your back into your hips as sort of Waterloo train station or London Bridge train station, where those are all your nerves and all your sort of neurological pathways. Exactly.
Piriformis is what it's
exactly. So you've got to stretch that front out. So you make sure your feet are straight, your knees are straight, you lunge forward, and then you just gently lower yourself into that front leg, keeping your body up and your head up. And if you want extra stretch, you lift up the same arm as the leg that's back. So my right leg is back, my right arm goes back, and then I just lift it and pull it backwards towards my back leg, and then you should feel a stretch through your psoas muscle at the front of your the one that goes from the back round to the front into the pelvis, and your hip flexor.
Yeah, come on!
There you are. How's that?
Round of applause, because they were all doing it behind the glass.
Yeah. Thank you.
Can we hear it for stretching, please? Let's hear it for stretching. Thank you.
Do you know who a great advocate of stretching was? Two people. My two great heroes were great advocates.
Stretch Armstrong and Fetch Armstrong.
Both of theirs, but two others. Fred Astaire, Bruce Forsyth.
Oh my God. Yeah, Bruce is the man. Whenever, I've told you this before, whenever I stood next to Bruce, was on many occasions, because I was very fortunate to know him a bit. And if I put my arm around him, which we did a lot, even right into his 80s, he had the strongest back.
He was a very strong man.
And
big,
he was always
strong,
bolt upright, wasn't he?
We had a lovely day once. A lot of people won't know this, but we had a lovely day once, many years ago. And we played, and I apologise for the golf reference, but we played golf at the PGA Championship. Vassals knows about that. And we played in the Pro-Am on the Wednesday. And this is one of my fondest memories. we had a day of it. I played, you played, and Brucey played, and we had the lovely Paul McGinley as our pro, and it was about 4.5, 5 hours of the loveliest time that I'd had on a golf course with you, magnificent you, great hero Brucey, and the lovely Paul McGinley. Happy days.
Not terrible, is it?
I mean,
thank you
to the universe for that.
Thank you, universe, for that every day. I'm going to add that to my morning prayer. It's getting longer, my morning prayer. My list of gratitude is not enough words.
And the following year,
because people don't write it down. All those trees.
I played with Brucey, Russ Abbott, me, and a Spanish golfer called Gonzalo Fernandez Castaño, who had no idea who Brucey, Russ Abbott, and me were. And this was the longest 5 hours of his entire life. I felt quite sorry for him, really, but it was a lovely day.
I see Russ now and again in Portugal, and I used to see him in the Caribbean. We don't go there anymore, but he's got a place there. He lives there, doesn't he? Always has time for everyone. Yeah. Always has time for everyone. Photographs, anything you want, a chat, lovely. Yeah. Proper legend.
Old school. Like it.
Mate, you're a ledge. You're a ledge nowadays. You're a ledge.
Come on.
How about that, Anton Du Beke, The Paris Affair, book number 6. Okay, and more on the way, I would imagine.
Yeah, absolutely.
Is it a Christmas thing now?
Yeah, it is. I'll do it every year this time of year because for 2 reasons. One, because
it works for Cliff.
Yeah, exactly.
And Michael Bublé.
Exactly. And I love it. I have to tell you, I just love it.
Well, this is. Have Christmas, right? Have Christmas and enjoy your Christmas. And then Boxing Day, when you're just thinking, oh, what now? Right? A little bit of a turkey sandwich, sit down, glass of red wine, this book. This book will take you from Boxing Day to New Year very nicely.
Even in Mauritius, where you're going?
Yep.
Okay. I bet you don't take it.
It's actually for the place for it.
I would say a glass of port.
Oh.
Because the lady's dress on the front is more, for me, it's screaming port over red wine. But, I don't have to be in control as long as it's under control.
This is under control.
You are under control. Thank you, Anton. We haven't really talked much about Strictly. Give us a minute, if you don't mind.
I think it's a great year. I think it is a interesting year because you were getting different leaders at the top of the leaderboard every week. And people are having good weeks and bad weeks. And people are making mistakes this year more often than they were in the past, as I sort of remember, and which makes the whole thing a bit volatile, exciting.
Is that because they're spending too much time on Instagram, do you think?
I think that, and they've all been reading my new book.
That's what it is. It's your fault. All right, well, give my love to everybody at Strictly, as always. Happy Friday, Chris and the team. Don't you just love Anton? Beautiful explanations, and I shall take them to the dance floor. Bravo, Anton. Keep doing what you're doing, says Denise. Abby says, lucky enough to have a group dance lesson with him at the Malvern Show a few years ago. What a lovely man. The Malvern Show. How did your Edinburgh thing go?
The Fringe?
Yeah.
Oh, it was
What did you do in Edinburgh for people who don't know, and how did it go?
I did we did an afternoon with, had an afternoon show. We did an afternoon with, so you only get an hour. So it was like the greatest hits. So we did some singing, we did some dancing, and we did some chat. And it was just wonderful.
Did you pack them out?
I packed them out, and I've never done it before, and I didn't know what to expect. And it's a brilliant, brilliant festival.
Oh, I've been many times.
I
love it.
And it's the number one arts festival in Europe or the world. But because it's not scattered, I mean, it's a big festival. But because you can go and see lots of things.
It's so cool.
It's so well done.
If you tried to pitch the format to somebody brand new nowadays, they'd say no chance. They wouldn't give you the light of day.
No.
But it just works because it's grown that way. Before you go, Anton, would you rather have... We play Would You Rather on the show nowadays.
Yes, of course.
We love it on a Friday. Would you rather have a bath in the washing water or wash your dishes in your bath water?
Dishes in the bath water every time.
What about the dishes in my bath water?
Well...
No. Okay, fair enough. Would you rather have potato mashers for hands and legs or a large potato for a head?
Some might argue.
Not what other people would want. What would you want?
I'd have the potato for the head.
All right. Would you rather have the loudest snore and the best sleep or no snore and the worst sleep?
I can't stand snorers, but of course you don't know. If everybody asks you, one never snores, does one? Yeah. I'd have a snore and a great sleep.
Yeah, I would as well.
Yeah. I'd be alone, mind you.
Yeah, because if you had no snore and the worst sleep, you'd be so grumpy all day. You'd be more annoying than
horrendous.
if you were snoring and you're not snoring.
But you don't know you snore, do you?
Anyway, happy Christmas.
And to you.
Goodbye.